Hi guys, welcome to today's video. This is going to be about level 60 equipment. If you saw my last video about the KVK in July, you will know that I have now reached level 60 and that has meant some changes in my gear. So I'm going to go into my war set now and you will be able to see that there are a couple of pieces that I've put in there already that are at blue. Well, what I thought the purpose of today's video could be is to compare slot by slot the stats you get from level 60 piece of equipment at maybe blue, possibly purple, compared to some free-to-play level 40 stuff, which you can get to mythic relatively easily, and the little bits in between as well, anything from level 45 to 55 equipment, which maybe you can get to purple or gold. So yeah, it's basically going to be a rundown of every slot and the stats that these pieces give you. So the stats that I want are going to be geared towards defense. That won't be the same for all of you. Obviously, if you're putting together attack sets in infantry, ranged and cavalry, then you need to go specifically for those kind of stats. But still, this should give you a bit of an idea, especially if you're free to play, the kind of things that you can get essentially for free and the kind of things that you can be saving your materials for that are going to make a real difference in your war set. So just before we go into Forge and have a look at everything, I just need to make you guys aware that we are in guild exhibition at the moment. The guys that we are playing are taking this incredibly seriously. We are not the people in orange, but they seem to just be going for everything. So I am sat here unshielded, trying to waste a few more of their troops and their resources. So should anything happen, I might need to take a bit of a break and deal with that. But yeah, okay, let's go into Forge now and look first of all at the kind of free-to-play equipment that you can get and the kind of stuff that I'm wearing at the moment. So here is Fiery Tomahawk, which are mythic. This is without any jewels, because obviously they're going to be added afterwards. But at mythic, I would say Fiery Tomahawk gives you some pretty good stats, which are just pure attack stats, and that's what you want when you're defending. You know, cavalry obviously very high, infantry is good, ranged quite a bit less, but that is a solid bit of gear. And these are the stats that you should be thinking, well, if I can get level 60 equipment to blue or above, will it be better than this? And you know, the answer is probably not. So let's go first to this bit of gear that I really like, the Kraken's Anchor. Now I've got it at blue as a bit of like fake gear basically. At purple, if I can get infantry at 16% and cavalry at 16%, I'll probably switch it out and I'll put that in. Whereas something like Terror Lash, because it has the construction percentage and the army capacity percentage, really you've got to get it to gold so that it gives you an infantry attack of almost 30% before it gives you those accumulated percentages that are better than free-to-play equipment. So that is what's guiding my decision. It's why I haven't put either of these bits in, even though I can get this to purple now. It doesn't give me what the Fiery Tomahawk does. But when it comes to level 60 equipment, I mean, I'm not going to be able to get any of these bits from the newer events, but there should be a Frostwing Greatsword here, which at purple gives you 12.5 for infantry, 12.5 for cav, and 8% for ranged. That is better than a Fiery Tomahawk. Problem is, I can't get it to purple. I can only just about be working towards getting it blue, and those percentages, you know, 9 for both infantry and cav and 5 for ranged, it's not as good as what Fiery Tomahawk at mythic gets you. So I'm not going to be swapping it out. I'm going to keep with the free-to-play bit of gear, and actually the bit of gear that I really want to work on is a bit of a surprising one, but I'll explain my reasons. So this Dragon's Bite which I've got to gold at the moment, at Mythic, it gives you army HP, and it gives you a percentage of 14%, which is really, really good. And infantry is always my front line, so an infantry of 14% is great for me too. As I say, I have got it to gold already, and I just need to get this fossilized egg up to gold to be able to upgrade it to that. But that, funnily enough, even though I'm at level 60, that is the bit of gear that I'm aiming for. So that does it for the main hand weapon. Going into Helm now, this is always one of the more fun one when it comes to level 60. So I have got the Frostwing Helm at gold. So that gives you ranged attack of 9% and a very nice army HP of 11.5. If I was doing pure free-to-play equipment, I'd definitely be looking at this Indulgent Visage, wherever it is. It gives you a very nice 14% for both infantry and ranged, but no HP. That's why I haven't got it in my set. That's why I haven't been targeting it. I need HP more than anything else because I'm only Castle 22 and I've got no base stats. So for the moment, I would probably be keeping at this, except if we go up to the level 60 helms, and there are loads of them that are great, but the main one, the one that I always craft, is Bumble Helm. It's just got purely great stats. Even at blue, which is what I've got at the moment, it's an army HP of 9%, which is almost as much as the Frostwing Helm, and then cavalry and ranged both at 14%, which is a huge boost. And the good thing about Queen Bee sets as well as Bon Appetit sets is that you can really take advantage of the Tycoon to try and level them up. And as you can see, I'm pretty close. Now when I get Bumble Helm to purple, these stats are, you know, they're for pay-to-play players. They're not for free-to-play players. 19% for cavalry and ranged and 13% HP. That is a perfect bit of gear. That's what I'm working towards. It might take, you know, another month or two, but I will get there. And just to say, this Wormbone Coronet, I've got it to purple at the moment. Now, a little bit like with the Terralash, the reason why it isn't in my set is because there are so many wasted stats here. You know, the range defense doesn't do anything. Research is obviously just research. And the army HP of 8%, you know, is decent, but it's less than both Bumble Helm at blue and the Frostwing Helm at gold. And yeah, the ranged attack percentage of 21 is great, but ultimately the Bumble Helm is much, much better for a level 60 bit of equipment. That is the one that I recommend if you're not a level 60 equipment yet. That is what I would say save your Venoms for, because it's essentially the best helm you can get that isn't champ gear. So moving on to armor. At the moment I have got the Hedonic Cuirass and I've got it to purple. This gives me infantry and ranged stats of 16% and a beautiful infantry HP percentage of 19. Now, getting it to gold will be extremely difficult, and I'm in a bit of a bind at the moment because I am in Tycoon trying to get my halos up potentially for an Ambrosial Cup, which I'll come to in a minute, but there is a part of me that thinks I should be working towards getting Hedonic Cuirass gold, where the stats are incredible, you know, infantry and ranged at 25, infantry HP at 30%, which, just to go over again, infantry HP to me, who only has an infantry front line, is as good as normal HP. So that would be a serious bit of gear if I could get it to that. But yeah, I mean, first of all, if you're not hitting Tycoon and you know you are properly free to play, there are bits available for you. Let me go firstly to this grimy plate, which I really, really like. It's infantry attack and infantry HP of around about 12%. That's good. You know, the wall defense is pointless, but that would be the bit of gear to be going for. The armor of the Abyss is fine, but it's only army attack of 7% and there's no HP there, so I wouldn't bother. However, let's go to the things that I could be crafting at level 60, which, you know, obviously none of this champ stuff, but there is this firewall plate, and I could certainly work towards getting it blue. You know, I'm only one of these ancient blueprints away from that. What that gives me is infantry attack of 9.4, cavalry of 14%, siege engine, you know, that's not going to be used, but army HP of 7%. And look, I mean, even if I got it to purple, honestly, it still doesn't give me as good a stats as my hedonic cuirass for someone who is always going to be in infantry. So firewall plate is not a piece of gear that will be going into my set. Even if I get it to purple, I will be sticking with the hedonic cuirass. Now, with legs, it gets a bit interesting. At the moment, I actually went for, I used to have legs of the Deceiver, which I got to purple, and you know, it gives you a great army attack percentage of 7.5 and a little bit of extra range on top. That's very nice. But these Untamed boots, for some reason I managed to get so many bloodsuckers and I could get them to purple, and it gave me army HP of 9.5% as well as cavalry attack of 13%. So I crafted that. I was going to save for a beast helm, but I thought, well, I'm only ever really going to be using the bumble helm, so I may as well put those bloodsuckers into a bit of level 55 equipment. And it's pretty similar to the bit of level 60 gear that I want to be getting, which are the Dragon's Talons. Now, at the moment, I've got them at blue, which gives you army HP of 7%, which is, you know, a fair bit less than the Untamed boots, infantry at 9.4 and ranged at 14. The thing about these is that I am pretty close to getting them to purple. I need 8 glowing eyes and I'm almost there. So what I've done is I've put them in my set now, even though the Untamed boots give me slightly better stats, and I know that they're going to be upgraded pretty soon. And then at purple, infantry of 13%, range of 19%, and army HP of 9% is great. That's they're kind of the best in slot, really, I would say. Now, if you're going completely free to play, the one bit of gear that I would put you towards would be the honeycomb chaps at Mythic, because they give you cavalry and ranged at almost 17%. It's a great bit of gear. It doesn't give you any HP, but it gives you very high attack stats, which is not bad. Yeah, but then we will move on to offhand, which is pretty interesting because anyone who's seen any of my previous gear videos know how much I obsess over this free-to-play bit of gear called the Lunar Scimitar. The reason I do that is because it gives you army HP of 16% and as well as ranged attack of 12.6%, and it does it from level 35 onwards. Like, it's such a good bit of gear for free-to-play players, and you know, for trapping it's absolutely perfect. But of course, when you get to level 60, you have got the option of these winter mitts, and I can get them to blue. So, in fact, I can get them to purple. So let's see what that gives us. It gives you army HP of 15.5% and ranged attack of 6.5%. It also gives you infantry defense and army defense at very high stats. And I guess even though I generally say that these are useless statistics, when you've got them that high, they will do something. So, you know, comparing the winter mitts at purple to the Lunar Scimitar at Mythic, from the army HP and the ranged, they're very similar, but the Lunar Scimitar is better. What I've got to decide is whether this extra 35% of defense is worth putting the winter mitts in over the Lunar Scimitar. At the moment, I haven't, and I'm holding off. You know, maybe I can get it to gold, And then yeah, if you get into army HP at 25%, of course it goes in, but for the time being, I'm holding off. Now there is another bit of gear in the mid-range, which I really like, you know, and I would have crafted were I not saving my glowing eyes. So Dragon Fist, which I could get to gold, I think, gives you army HP of 20 and cavalry attack of 22%. That's at gold. At purple, obviously quite a bit less, and I mean if you can get it to mythic, then yeah, that's a perfect bit of gear. But gold is a reasonable level to get it, and it's reasonably doable. But as I said, I save my glowing eyes for the bit of level 60 equipment that I want, which are the Dragon's Talons, and I don't have the money to be buying a lot of material chests to be able to get both of those bits of gear, so I save it for the one that I want. And that's what I'm going to do. Which brings us now to accessories. This is pretty interesting. Okay, so at the moment, the free-to-play gear, which everyone should be crafting for accessories certainly, is trying to get the Lost Island relic to mythic as soon as possible. Oh, Christ, I've got this guy scouting my turf. Who are you? Are you worth my time? No, you are not. Okay, right, let's just press on regardless of that. Where were we? Okay, so the Lost Island relic at mythic, which I've got one of and I can craft two. It's giving you stats of infantry and ranged at almost 8.5% and army HP at 3.5%. It's a brilliant bit of gear to be putting in when you're at an early stage of the game, because those stats, certainly for accessories, are great, and it gives you army HP where really no other accessory does, or certainly no other accessory that is easy to craft. However, when you get to level 60, you do get the Ambrosial Cup, and that is very much worth putting into your set. I can almost get it to blue now. Let's have a look. Yeah, I can, but I'll need to craft it all the way up there. Infantry and ranged attack of 11.75, great. And then the infantry and ranged HP of 7%. I'm always going to be an infantry, so that's a good stat for me. But if later on in life I'm going to be trying to counter people, there is the option of me switching to ranged when someone sends a cavalry march at me, whereby ranged HP obviously is going to come into play. So yeah, this bit of gear, it's going straight in my set. It's a perfect bit of gear, even at blue. Very hard to craft it over that, but at blue it certainly goes in. There is, however, one more bit of gear that for some reason I am able to craft, and this is a decision that I've got to make. So, the Champion Faith. Weirdly enough, I have got enough Crimson Mains to craft it. Now, the stats are kind of weird because infantry and cavalry at just over 4.5% isn't bad, but like that with the army attack of 2.5%, you know, it's giving you, what is that? That's then 7% of infantry and cav and 2.5% of ranged, plus the army HP of 7.75%, which is very similar to the infantry HP that I get from the Ambrosial Cup. So if I'm comparing the Champion Faith at green to, let's say, the Lost Island Relic at mythic, they're very similar really, but the army HP on the Champion Faith is so much more that I'd probably swap it out and put it in. The thing is that I have got this bit of gear also at mythic, which I am very reluctant to take out, which is the secret totem. So that gives you infantry HP of 21%, which is huge, and infantry attack of basically 10%. Now, because of that very high HP amount, I'm going to keep it in. But if there was ever a situation where I wasn't lining up in infantry, I would absolutely take that out and yeah, craft my first bit of champ gear, which would be pretty fun. Let me just check that these guys aren't rallying me before I... No, good, just wanted to make sure. And there are still some other kind of options for accessories that I think we need to go through. Level 60 gear brings you the possibility of crafting a blight ring, which I will find here, which is a great bit of gear. Army HP at 9.5% is very, very nice, with a ranged attack of 9% as well, basically, and I can almost get it there. Let's see, I'm so close. Would it go in my set? I don't think it would. I don't think it would. I think what we're going to have now, which is the secret totem at mythic and the ambrosial cup at blue, those two bits, like ambrosial cup at blue is better than blight ring at purple, absolutely. And so I might craft it just so it's there if I do unlock the third accessory slot by going to Castle 25, then it's there waiting for me. And actually there is one more bit of level 60 gear that I want to talk through, and that is this Book of the Dead. Now, I spent a little bit of money doing these tycoon events where necrosis is there and you can get all these rotten bloods, and I can just about get a Book of the Dead to blue as long as I kind of really start hitting the monsters, because yeah, it's extremely difficult to get 18 of all of these other materials. But it's still, it only gives you the kind of stats that an ambrosial cup does, which is infantry and cavalry rather than infantry and ranged at 11%, with the infantry HP of 7%. Cavalry defense is a pointless stat. I don't understand why they didn't just give you cavalry HP at 7% as well. That would be a much fairer way of doing it. And yeah, I mean, at green, it's good enough to go in, but it's not better than ambrosial cup. So that's where it stays. And look, for all of the equipment that comes from these new events like necrosis and gorilla, they make it so hard for you to get all of the other materials. You know, you have to be hitting these monsters constantly, and honestly, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think any of that gear is good enough to be putting in above the older event pieces like the Bon Appetits and Queen Bee. So that's my advice to you there. I just wouldn't bother with it. If you do manage somehow to, you know, get enough materials to get these bits to blue, maybe even green, then by all means craft them, but they shouldn't be good enough to be going into your war set. And obviously all of these pieces are gemmed, so the stats are quite a bit higher than what I've just gone through. The one change that I will make will be this Lost Island relic, unfortunately getting relegated out, and it will be replaced by an ambrosial cup. It's because of not only the very, very high infantry and ranged stats, but also the infantry HP being 7%, whereas this army HP is only half that. You know, at this stage where I'm still Castle 22, still taking on, you know, big players with huge attack stats, I need all the HP I can get. So yeah, that is what I'm going to do. I hope you found the line by line comparisons useful. I think they're very useful. I think that Lords Mobile should make it easier for you to do those comparisons in Forge, and I don't really know why they don't. But when you know the kind of stats that you're looking out for, it makes your decisions that much easier. And yeah, if you're yet to get to level 60, what hopefully this video will help you decide is to be saving certainly your Queen Bee and I would say your Blackwing ultra rare materials for the bits of gear that you get when you're at level 60. I think that is hugely important. But yeah, I'm interested to know what you guys think. Let me know what kind of gear you're looking for. Let me know if you're thinking I'm making any mistakes, or you think there are bits of gear that I haven't considered. Always very happy to chat about that kind of thing. Yeah, but that's it for today. I'll see you on the next video. Cheers, bye bye.